Hey everyone, it's Phil Hall of Westphalia Communications, and thank you for today's episode of Westphalia Video Conversations. Today we're going to be discussing Fairfield County's real estate market. What a year it's been. Our guest is Craig Oshrin. He is with Coldwell Banker out of Fairfield, I believe. Is that correct, Craig?
That's correct.
And Craig, I can see you're in your second home office for this interview with the call. Every time I see you online, you're always going places and doing things. This has really must have been an incredibly busy year for you.
It's been tremendously busy. Helping my clients to navigate this market that's quite insane, just due to the fact that there's a lack of inventory. Rates have never been better for in the way of mortgages, and then helping them to navigate a good offer to get them into contract has been cataclysmic, if we still use the terminology. It's been quite an awesome journey, and it's also raised my bar as an agent. But yeah, it's been mostly on the road at the wheel.
And I can see, well, we're actually recording this interview on a Monday at 9:30, and I can see the sun shining right through your window, actually going a bit of a bar going across your head of sunlight.
There we go.
There you go. So you start the day pretty early, and from what I see online, you go well into the evening hours of your work.
Yeah, I mean, clients are coming, at all times, and if when inventory hits the market at the beginning of the week, I get some of my buyers to come out, and we're looking at inventory on a Monday morning. So I stopped. I grabbed my cup of coffee, but actually this morning I did my nutty banana shake from actually a shout out to Cafe Dolce in Norwalk. Maybe I'll get a free shake. You never know.
Okay, Cafe Dolce, I could use a tall black coffee if you're in the habit of giving out promos for media celebrities like us. Who are your clients? Are they people from Connecticut, or are you still getting a wave of people coming up from New York City who don't want to live in Bill de Blasio City anymore?
Well, it's a mix of both. It's New York City. It's also Connecticut. So it's an intermix of clients from all backgrounds, all income levels, wanting to purchase here in Lower Fairfield County.
I can imagine with all the demand coming in and supply not meeting the demand, prices really must be going through the roof. What has been your experience in terms of pricing here?
My experience is that the pricing has definitely gone up. We definitely see an increase, this year to date in Lower Fairfield County, and again, maybe throughout the country, 12 to 15%. Homes are selling for 12 to 15% year over year. So, from last year to this year, this time, we would definitely see quite a difference, and more properties that are in contract, with the least amount of inventory. So we're seeing about 2 to 3 months of inventory in some of the markets that I'm working in. And when I say that, I mean specific towns in Lower Fairfield County: Norwalk, Stamford, Wilton, Westport, Fairfield. Those are the towns that I've been focusing on. Weston has been a very focused town with one of my buyers in particular. So it's been quite a trip. But again, when you're dealing with that lack of inventory, decisions have to be made very quickly. The one thing that I'm quite sure of is that when the market does slow down, we will be at a new price point. And I think it will hold steady. Homes might not sell as fast, but the homes, I think, will have a refreshed value for people that have purchased 2, 3 years ago, even 4 or 5. They'll find substantial value in their home's equity, I think, which will have built based on all that have been through at this point.
Well, who are the buyers? Are these first-time buyers? Are they young people? Are they repeat buyers? Are they empty nesters looking to find something else, or is it all of the above?
I've been grateful because my network has definitely put their trust in me. So again, all price points. I haven't really. It hasn't been. I've had a number of first-time buyers. I've also had people who are financially well enough that this is a second or a third property for them, and that they wanted to have more space here in Connecticut. So I've been very fortunate to see that as well.
What are the hot towns in Lower Fairfield County? You mentioned a whole bunch of towns a minute ago.
Yeah.
Is it one market or two markets that are really on fire?
I would say one town that really has drawn my attention, and yeah, they're all doing really well. I would say in particular that one of the towns that really has drawn my interest with my buyer search, and I have two buyers right now in this particular town, is Weston. Weston has been super hot. I don't have Monday morning statistic in front of me, but I can tell you that, when I last looked at the sheet, we had over a 90-day period, over 100 sold properties, and 30 properties were active. And then we had about another 60 properties that were under contract, either pre-inspection or post-inspection pending foreclosing. So we've seen a lot of things, but the Weston market and Easton market, which were once dead, are now completely revitalized, refreshed, and have new home ownership from out of town, but also Connecticut people who wanted more space. You've got, Weston and Easton are known for, 2 acres of property. Majority of the properties have that. So that's been really great to see in two towns that, didn't have that before.
Well, Connecticut is somewhat notorious for its property taxes. Has this been an issue with your prospective buyers?
No, I think New Yorkers appreciate, you go to Westchester and, if you're living in Manhattan, I don't know what their taxation is, but at Westchester in particular, most of the towns are very heavy on taxes. So no, that's not a complaint at all. And I think if anything, Connecticut now embraces, our New York neighbors wanted to come in and make Connecticut a place to call home. So once a complaint, not a complaint anymore.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we're having this conversation on Zoom, which was one of the big tech stories of 2020. Another big tech story was the virtual tour. So people didn't have to go into a house if they were agitated over the COVID-19 virus. Are you still doing virtual tours, or are your buyers confident now that they can actually go into a property?
I haven't done one. I have not. I did one virtual tour this year. I almost said no, I haven't done it. I did one. Most of my buyers, all of my buyers, they come out. I want them to see, feel, and experience that property. It is such a personal decision. It's where economics meets emotion, and they cross over at various times. So the fact that somebody could take through a virtual tour, like you and I having a conversation, and buy a home, that would be lost on me. And again, it happens, but it's something that I'm glad to not experience, because when I help my client to position an offer, I want to be able to put my head on my pillow at night and know that I've done everything that I can for them, but that they got to experience the property, the uniqueness of it, from the crown molding all the way down to the wood floors or the carpeted floors. I want them to feel what it's like to be in that home, and you can't do that through a virtual tour.
Is that something that's common with your fellow realtors? Because virtual tours were really the big thing this spring and summer. Have they, like you, either never went through it here in Fairfield County, or
Yeah.
are losing interest in it?
I think it wasn't that it was a big thing. I think it was an option,
Mhm.
which again, that was what it was a big thing about, is that it was an option that people could have the opportunity to have a virtual tour if they wanted, but it wasn't the end all be all. So, again, it was there, open houses, virtual open houses, as we saw. But again, people were doing that even when open houses pre-pandemic, where people would go into an open house and experience it. But just in case you couldn't, someone would throw it on its Facebook page. It's only that the multiple listing service and Zillow and other companies got behind, oh, we have a virtual tour this weekend. But again, at the end of the day, people want to experience the home, and sales did happen because of the virtual tours, is because those that were in tune to the market very early on knew that this market was going to just be, in fuego. And so I think that means fire, right?
Yes.
And so they knew, I hope so. I was like, uh-oh. And I hope that, they knew that very early on this was going to happen. And so they were making an economic decision just as much as an emotional one to get out of New York and come to Connecticut.
You mentioned Facebook. We're connected on Facebook, obviously, and I see you all the time doing a lot of posts. For the viewers who are not familiar with your work, share your social media strategy, because I think among realtors in Fairfield County, you really have a very sophisticated and very aggressive social media approach.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. I think it's a balance of how do you present your personal life to a point where, what's personal stays that way, but just how do you share your family? How do you share your love of community? How do you share your gratefulness to be in the position that I find myself in, to create good content while maintaining a strong brand in my credo. I was thinking about when I put something out there, how is it going to land with people who are reading it? We're just starting to create my blog. We have stories with Craigo where I talk about my belief in my why, which is something that I posted today. I talk a little bit about local business and how to support people in our community, and how can we make Connecticut an even better place to live, and how can we help people in our community. I was just thinking about some of the initiatives I had from a few years ago, which was our Fab Love program by Fabric Care. Myself and my friend Mike, who's the owner of Fabric Care, created Fab Love, which is, again, give a hand up, not a handout, and help people through our clothing program to give them clothing, to empower them. So there's a lot of different initiatives that we're a part of. Fellow, our Fairfield Emerging Leaders, which is an offshoot of our Fairfield Chamber, which money that we collect from our sponsorship fees go to help high school students that are going to college with scholarship funds. So there's a lot of great things that I'm a part of, and I believe that community knowledge base of real estate, sharing great properties, great stories of triumph from leaders in our community is super important and is needed now more than ever. And so when I post things, I want people to know that I care and I love my community and I care about the people in it.
Wow. Well, Fairfield County has some of the wealthiest housing markets in New England, also in the country for that matter. Affordable home opportunities seem to be a bit more elusive, or am I mistaken? Are there affordable home ownership opportunities out there for first-time home buyers or working-class households?
Yeah, so money's relative to when we talk about a market, especially in this emerging market, which I never thought in my career of Connecticut that I would have the opportunity to say. That being the case, as the market continues to tick up, people who have purchased now or in the next few months, maybe even in the next year, if our market continues to go up, they find themselves in an equity positive position. But that also means that they're moving here to experience schools, to experience local businesses, to experience events, to create a life for themselves. And so I think it goes far beyond money. But the American dream to have home ownership is something that I think is something that shouldn't be looked over, and it should be a goal on anyone's radar, because I think having your own property means that you have a piece of the American dream. And I think it's important. And yeah, there are people out there that right now can't buy and that they are in a place to rent, but they should be thinking about how they're going to save their money so that they can be in a position of power to one day purchase. The people that have wealth are moving a lot more strategically, making informed decisions on their long-term wealth building plan for not just themselves, but generationally for their family.
Well, you mentioned renting. What is the rental market like in Fairfield County today?
So I'm not as in tuned with the rental market because I've been working heavily with buyers and then also preparing some listings that are going to be coming to the market in the next few months. So that's what happens when you're sitting in the car. But the market's been steady. I think it's not one that I can really comment on. I can just say that the rental prices have definitely gone up. But there's definitely more opportunity in the rental sector than there is for purchasing property.
Well, it's good to know. Well, I know that Stamford, if you can't drive down I-95 without seeing the huge skyscrapers going up, and there are all these apartment complexes being created to a lesser extent in Norwalk. I'm not certain about the rest of the county.
Yeah, I mean, Stamford's a hub for apartments. I mean, we've got, Harbor View, and you've got about 40 to 50 complexes in Stamford alone. It's tremendous.
Wow. Craig, if we were to come back a year from today, you in your car, me here in my home office, where do you see Fairfield County's housing market at this time in 2021?
I see that the market would probably have slowed down a little bit. That would be one thing that I feel pretty confident about. I would see that our rates are still going to be fairly low and probably maybe, in the low threes, 3.25 would be my guess. Again, this is my crystal ball. Mm-hmm. I also see that there are people who had wanted to sell this year, but due to all the craziness and even an informed decision, but also balanced out with the emotion that they're now going to be positioned or in a better place to feel more confident about selling, because they'll know what their equity is and the market has calmed down, and they'll be able to face themselves against competition. And I think that's the problem for any listing, is that you can underprice in an emerging market, but you can't overprice. And so we're seeing a lot of people test driving the market from a listing end to see what the market will bear. And so right now, that's the phase that we're in, and we should be into that for the foreseeable months. But next year at this time, I think the market will slow down a little bit. We'll be at a new level, because think about all the money that has moved into Connecticut, all the money. And so for me, one of the things in my content creation and supporting local business, supporting all that you do in writing editorials in your blog content, is that it's important that we're supporting our local business, because when we can support that, we can keep home ownership. You know, the home ownership, according to the National Association of Realtors, is 7 to 10 years. We want to keep that going for longer. We want New York residents to be Connecticut residents for a much longer period of time, and make Connecticut stronger and continue to grow our economic infrastructure.
What about new home construction? Do you see more of that in the coming year?
I sure do. I'm actually going through my residential construction course. It's just a certification. That's all it is. I'm not looking to build homes, but I'm taking a course to educate myself on the building process, and then all that goes on, so that when we are walking through homes that have new construction, I can speak even in a deeper way to it. So I'm really happy that I'm taking that course.
Excellent. Well, Craig, we only have a finite amount of time on these episodes to do the conversations, but if our viewers wanted to continue the conversation with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Just connect with me on Facebook, Craig Oshrin, or connect with me on LinkedIn, Craig Oshrin, and I'm Craig O Realtor, I believe, on Instagram.
Do you get a lot of clients off of Instagram?
No, not at all. It's content creation. I think what we were just having this conversation the other night with one of my good friends from Grid-It, who's going to be writing some of my publications, and we were having this conversation, and one of the chats was, Craig, how much business do you get way of Facebook and Instagram? And I said, it's a way that, for instance, right now this interview happens in part because you see that I'm active, because I'm putting out good content. So I like to think of not leads coming from it, but credibility coming from it based on the content that you put out there.
Indeed. I mean, there are tons of realtors out in Fairfield County, but you're in my Facebook feed and my LinkedIn feed all the time. So I figured, well, who am I going to speak to for this interview? Craig O.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm always so grateful and humbled to be interviewed by you, and I love the work that you do, and I really appreciate you taking the time to connect with me today.
All right, my ego's going to need a new zip code thanks to that. But Craig Oshrin with the Fairfield office of Coldwell Banker, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Folks, we'll see you again next week on a new edition of West Fair's Video Conversation. So until then, have yourself a blessed day.